In the very beginning, a long, long time ago, there was nothing. The world as we know it did not exist. There were no trees, no animals, and no people. There was only darkness and emptiness. It was a quiet and still place waiting for something wonderful to happen. The Bible tells us a story about how everything began. It is a story about a powerful and loving God who had a special plan. This plan was to create a beautiful world filled with light and life. This story is found in the first book of the Bible called Genesis, which means beginnings. It explains how God made everything from nothing. The story starts with God. Before anything else, there was God. The Bible says that the Spirit of God was moving over the darkness and the great empty waters. Then God decided to begin his amazing work of creation. He wanted to fill the emptiness with goodness and beauty. He had a vision for a world that was ordered and full of purpose. Every part of this new world would have its own special place and reason for being there. This was not a random act, it was a carefully thought-out plan, a masterpiece about to be painted on the canvas of the universe by a great artist. The very first thing God made was light. He spoke, and his words had incredible power. God said, "Let there be light," and suddenly, there was light. The light was bright and good, and it pushed back the darkness. God saw that the light was good, and he separated it from the darkness. He called the light day, and he called the darkness night. This was the very first day of creation. It marked the start of time, the beginning of morning and evening, a rhythm that would continue forever. God had brought order to the chaos and started to shape the world. This story of creation teaches a very important idea. It tells us that God is the creator of everything in the universe. Nothing exists that he did not make. From the smallest speck of dust to the biggest star in the sky, it all came from God. He is the source of all life and all things. The story shows us that God is powerful and that his creation was deliberate and good. He did not just make things happen by accident, he carefully designed and crafted every single detail. This belief is central to understanding the world from a biblical perspective, seeing it as God's handiwork. On the second day, God continued his work of bringing order to the world. He saw the great waters that covered everything and decided to separate them. With his powerful words, he created a great space above the water. He called this space sky. It was like a big, beautiful dome that stretched out over the earth. This sky separated the water below from the water vapor above. This act created the atmosphere, the air we breathe. It was another step in making the world a place where life could exist. God saw his work, and he declared that it was good, a perfect next step in his plan. The third day was a very busy day for God. He looked at the world and saw that water covered everything. So he commanded the water to gather in one place. As the waters moved, dry ground appeared. God called the dry ground land, and he called the gathered waters seas. He had now made a place for plants to grow, and for animals and people to live. But God was not finished with the third day. He then commanded the land to produce plants. Green grass, herbs that give seeds, and fruit trees began to grow all over the land. The world was becoming colorful and full of life. After creating the land and plants, God turned his attention to the sky on the fourth day. The sky was still empty, a vast expanse of light and darkness. God decided to place lights in the sky to mark the seasons, the days, and the years. He made two great lights. The bigger light, the sun, was to rule the day. The smaller light, the moon, was to rule the night. He also made the stars and scattered them across the dark sky like tiny diamonds. These lights were not just for beauty. They were to provide light and to help measure time. They brought a new level of order to the creation. These first 4 days show God's incredible wisdom and power. He worked in a very logical order. First, he created the basic elements of the world: light, sky, land, and seas. Then he filled these spaces with things that would sustain life. He made light before he made plants that need light to grow. He made the land before he made the plants that grow on it. Everything was done with a clear purpose in mind. Each day built upon the work of the previous day, like a builder constructing a house one step at a time. God was preparing a perfect home. On the fifth day, God decided to fill the seas and the sky with living creatures. The world was ready for more complex life. With his powerful voice, God commanded the waters to teem with living things. Suddenly, the seas were filled with all sorts of creatures. There were great sea monsters and tiny fish, swimming and playing in the deep waters. At the same time, God created birds to fly in the sky. Eagles soared high above the land, and small birds sang in the trees. God blessed them and told them to multiply and fill the earth. He saw all the life he had made, and it was good. The sixth day was the final day of God's creative work, and it was a very special one. First, God filled the dry land with animals. He made every kind of land animal imaginable. There were livestock like cows and sheep that would be useful to people. He made wild animals like lions and tigers that would roam the forests and plains. And he made all the small creatures that crawl upon the ground. The land, which was once empty, was now alive with movement and sound. The whole earth was now teeming with a wonderful variety of animals, each with its own place in the creation. Then on this same sixth day, God did something truly unique. He decided to make human beings. This was the most special part of his creation. God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." So, he created the first man and the first woman. Being made in God's image means that humans are special. They can love, think, create, and have a relationship with God in a way that animals cannot. God gave them responsibility over the rest of creation, asking them to take care of the earth and all the animals. This was a great honor and a very important job. After creating humans, God looked at everything he had made over the 6 days. He saw the light, the sky, the land, the seas, the sun, moon, and stars. He saw the plants, the fish, the birds, the animals, and the people. The entire world was complete, just as he had planned it. The Bible says that God saw all that he had made and it was very good. Everything was perfect, in harmony, and working together exactly as it should. The creation was finished, a beautiful and wonderful masterpiece made by a loving and powerful Creator. After 6 days of incredible work, God's creation was complete. Everything was in its place and the world was filled with beauty and life. On the seventh day, God did something different. He did not create anything new. Instead, he rested from all his work. This was not because God was tired, as he is all-powerful. His rest was a way of showing that the work of creation was finished and perfect. He set this day apart as a special day, a holy day. It was a day to stop, to enjoy the beautiful world he had made, and to reflect on its goodness. This act of resting on the seventh day established a pattern for all of humanity. It introduced the idea of a week with 6 days for work and 1 day for rest. This rhythm of work and rest is a gift from God, designed for the good of people. It reminds us to take time to appreciate the world around us and to remember the Creator who made it all. The seventh day became a holy day, a time for worship and for reconnecting with God. It completes the story of creation by showing that rest is just as important as work in God's perfect plan for the world. The creation story in Genesis teaches us some very important beliefs. The most important one is that God is the one and only creator of everything. The universe did not happen by chance. It was designed and brought into being by God. It also shows us that humans have a special place in this world. Being made in God's image gives people a unique value and purpose. We are called to be caretakers of the earth, to look after it with love and respect, just as God does. This responsibility shows that our role is not just to live but to nurture and protect our world. In conclusion, the story of Genesis is a simple yet profound account of how the world began. It tells of a God who, over 6 days, turned emptiness and darkness into a world bursting with light, life, and beauty. From the creation of day and night to the forming of land and sea and filling them with plants, animals, and finally people, every step was part of a divine plan. The story ends with God resting, declaring his creation very good. It reminds us that the world is a gift, created with purpose and order by a loving God, and that humanity has a special role within it.